beautiful weather this afternoon as we round off our Super Saturday racing here at Road America, America's national part of speed, with the second Idemitsu Mazda MX-5 Cup presented by BF Goodrich Race. Hello everybody. It's been a smashing weekend so far. We're just inland from the Great Michigan Lake and between Sheboygan and Elkhart Lake itself. Road America carved out of the local countryside in 1955. 14 corners, turn one, a little lift and dab of the brakes for these cars. Turn three, an opportunity at the bottom of the hill, and a big overtaking spot downhill at turn five. You'll see the drivers sending it in there and trying to make up positions. Then starting to climb to turn 8 through the carousel, which has been a real action area. And then, of course, all the way back through Canada Corner. Had a race earlier today. Shay Adam is alongside us. It was a barnstormer in part, Shay, earlier on, with the guys coming to the line. Two rookies on the front row as we came to the green flag.
Jonathan Neudorf was our pole sitter, but he didn't stay there for very long. Nate Cicero alongside him for his first front row start. The McCumbin McAleer driver playing it calm and cool, but they had nothing for Gresham Wagner, who took the lead early on and held it for 11 laps.
Jonathan Neudorf getting a little bit of a help down towards Canada Corner in the orange and black 55. Blew a tyre on the left rear, got into the pit lane and actually rejoined. Then the problem for Thomas Annunziata, went straight on at turn one, required a full course yellow to get him out of the gravel. Then the big incident for young driver in the 49, and that was Andrew Wilson, who walked away from a big incident. The important part of the race, the turning point of the race, the winning move was Gresham Wagner. He couldn't have known that being pushed to the front by Jared Thomas in the number 96 was going to make him the winner. Just a little touch again, Shay, between two drivers battling further down the field at the very fast kink.
And it resulted in Joey Rainey and Hannah Zellers into the wall, neither of which of those cars has been recovered to be able to compete in this race. But Gresham Wagner did hold on to that win, his first win here at Road America in this championship. He's now completed each of the top 5 steps of the championship as far as races here are concerned.
We'll give you the Mazda grid in a moment for the starting. That has really shaken up the championship, that result in turn for the first race, particularly, Shay, in the rookie championship.
Yeah, there's now only 10 points between Thomas Annunziata after a very bad race earlier on, and Nate Cicero, 1760 to 1750, and both of them are right next to each other in the overall season championship, which is being led by Aaron Johnson, starting on the outside of row number 1 for this race. That's very important for Aaron. Second in the championship, Celine Roland. He's quite a few rows back.
He's down in 12th position. Here's how it stands. Max Opalski has a pole position. His second best lap in qualifying was good enough for pole position. He'll start the number 2 Copeland Motorsports Mazda on pole with Aaron Johnson, series leader at the moment for JTR. Alongside him, row 2 is Robert Noaker in the black and white number 13 with Nate Cicero, the dark fronted 83 car with the red and blue hindquarters, McCumbin McAleer Racing. Gresham Wagner in the multicoloured number 5 is in P5, excuse me, and Jared Thomas, the JTR, the red car with the yellow rollover hoop, is in 6th. On the 4th row of the grid, John Chadoin, the number 39 McCumbin McAleer Racing driver, has Heather Hadley starting in 8th position in the 54 Spark Performance car. Her teammate Alex Patura in the 33 is in 9th. James Hirsch is in 10th position in the 81. In 11th positions, Thomas Annunziata will want to go forward from there after his problems in the first race, and Celine Roland will definitely try to make positions up in that bright number 87 car from 12th spot on the grid. Going further back, Anthony McIntosh has the JTR Performance Motorsports Engineering, 69 car in 13th position, ahead of Hernan Palermo. The Spark Performance number 20 car in 14th position. Jeremy Fletcher's another one of the rookies, the number 22 car for Copeland Motorsport. He was assessed the penalty for that incident with Jonathan Neudorf in the first race. Willie Hyman is for JTR Motorsports Engineering. He is in 16th position. That's the top 8 rows, and they are all lined up nicely the whole field has come together into the pit lane for the safety car. Well, as always, there is 45 minutes on the clock. And it will be Max Opalski in the green car to the inside. Oh, there's a jump from the outside of the road. This could be a penalty there as they go across the line. Aaron Johnson, I think, was ahead at the start of the race. And it has been waved off, has it, Shay?
Sorry, helps if I turn my mic on. Timing and scoring is reflecting that Max Opalski crossed the start line first, so that will be okay.
Not sure of that. Oh, big incident in the middle of the field. Celine Roland, one of the championship contenders. 3 cars have gone around. The 22 Copeland cars in there as well. Jeremy Fletcher again, the white and black car. The Hickson multicoloured 87 car up the hill is in the wall. That's not going anywhere. Who was the 3rd car there, Shea?
I don't know who the 3rd car was, John, but there is a big chunk of debris straight across from us on the racing line by start finish. So there was contact further back. That is massive for the championship, though, because Celine Roland came in 2nd in points, and the gap was already closed after race number 1. There's more contact further back as Hernan Palermo is getting bullied around going through turn 5, as is Heather Hadley.
Yeah, Heather in the mostly red car out onto the dirt. A little bit of hip and elbow given there to ease her out of the racing line, and there's bodywork rubbing on that car. Full course caution is out, and that, I think, is the 10 car. Yes, it is. That's another driver whose name we've been calling a lot today. Thomas Annunziata has had no luck at all, and he will have to come into the pit lane and have that right front fender, the right front wing pulled away from the BF Goodrich tyre and racing wheel. That might not even last till he gets back in. The good news is we're under yellow, so if he dives into the pit lane, he's going to lose positions, but not too much real estate. There was definitely a 3rd car involved. Yes. It was another white car
with a bit of colour on it, which is what threw me off.
It wasn't far enough back down the field for it to be Robert Noaker.
No, I don't think so. Robert Noaker doesn't have as much yellow on his car as the one involved. We do have our incident vehicles that have now gone off to that portion of the section, turn 2, where the impact was for Celine Roland and Jeremy Fletcher in a yet-to-be-determined car. Thomas Annunziata is going to never want to race at Road America again after today's damage, and for him, that wheel arch liner is still dragging along his BF Goodrich. He's going to need a new right front tyre as well.
Right, let's go back to the start and see what we can unpick. There's a piece of bodywork and bit of MX-5 right in front of us. That's what Shea saw earlier. That's getting picked up at the moment. Coming to the line, it was very, very tight, and that's about 3 rows back.
Yeah.
And I'm not even sure what part of an MX-5 that is, to be honest. I don't think that was contact. I think that was just air underneath the cars. The start will be being reviewed. The front 3 or 4 rows are okay. Now watch for the white car right in the middle of the circuit. That's where it all starts. The first white car is not the one involved. White with yellow, you said, Shea. You were spot on. And then people checking up behind. It was
Anthony McIntosh.
It was Anthony McIntosh, the 69 car for JTR. And then people checking up behind is what caused the problem. Now, down at turn 5, Heather went for a very audacious manoeuvre around the outside.
Well, I think it was sparked by the fact that Hernan Palermo came from way far back, was around the outside of her. She didn't know that Hernan was there, and all of a sudden, when she went to go wide, there was nowhere to go.
Well, I think that was actually started by Celine Roland making contact with the number 69.
Oh,
and then everything else was incidental to that. Now, I'm not apportioning blame there at all. Race control would be having a look at that.
Well done by our marshals to very quickly get out to the end of the wall and wave the green flag to let the other competitors know you're clear to go after this. That's bravery.
Yeah, well done. Very good job. And we've got the intervention vehicles down there. Both drivers out. So into the pit lane for the number 33, Alex Batura, for Spark Performance in the camouflage green. That is right rear that is being looked at there. They'll replace that wheel and tyre. He won't lose the lead lap here as he's just dropped into the pit lane. Waiting to see Thomas Annunziata come back out as well.
Is he still in there for Hickson Motorsports?
Well, I presume he came into the pit lane, Shay, at the end of that first lap because of that issue with the right front fender.
Even if it came out on its own, they would still want to check the BF Goodrich for any kind of damage. No, he's still out on the track. I just saw a shot of him going through turn 6.
See, I so did not believe my timing screen when I saw that. I've actually rebooted the timing software because I thought he surely had to come in, and he's sitting in 9th position at the moment.
And it's still smoking badly as he's going through certain turns. Now, the bodywork isn't sticking out of the side of the car anymore.
Well, he's not going as quick, so there's not as much airflow on the front of it.
Well, did it fall up? No, it's still there.
No.
It's still there.
Left-hander at turn 8. It's still pushing. Still haven't worked out what piece of a Mazda MX-5 Cup car flew off at the start.
It looks like the bit that's behind the front of the bumper. That when you're looking underneath the car, I had that bit flap on my first car that I bought, and I had to buy some very powerful duct tape to try and get all the way back home.
Having never owned an MX-5 but driven many, I will bow to your superior knowledge.
That was on a Toyota Celica, but still, I didn't want to mention the rival brand. We did have 24 cars take the start of today's race. 22 of them are still going around the track. Jeremy Fletcher and Celine Roland needing to be recovered by the safety vehicles.
Alex Bashura is back out on the track, and I don't believe he has dropped the lap, having that right rear wheel and tyre combination replaced. And we need another flatbed to the scene of the accident. We've got one of the cars removed already, Celine Roland. I mean, that's massive for the championship.
Well, it is, but it isn't. That's exactly where I was going with this, because Celine was fighting to try and get closer to first. He drops back after today's race, potentially to 4th. So it's not as bad as it could have been, but he's just a little bit further away from maybe potentially even getting to Aaron Johnson. Aaron now has even more of an advantage, but the car that's now chasing him in the championship is his teammate, Jared Thomas, who, by the way, won this championship in $250,000 a year ago. Who was that diving into the pit lane? That was a black Mazda, as
it was
round they come.
It was Thomas Annunziata. So
good.
finally he has come into the pit lane.
All right, Max Zapolsky has led both of the laps in the race so far. So he is 2 laps closer towards getting the 10 bonus points for leading the most laps in the race. He did get the 10 bonus points for getting the fastest lap, which led to the pole position. And who has the fastest lap of the race so far? Well, it's not really representative because we've been behind the safety car now, haven't we?
Correct. Everybody in the top 10 had it for about a millisecond. Farhan Siddiqui actually has it now at a 4 minutes 6.0.
Oh, mega. Lightning McQueen.
Yeah.
Our car's car.
Ciao. Sorry, couldn't help it. So cleanup still going on between turns 2 and 3, and it looks like they're going to try and tow. Maybe have to be a lift tow, but a tow nevertheless on the stricken number 87 Celine Roland car. There's actually a spot that they can just roll that car back to. Annunziata getting a new right front wheel and tyre combo, because they're on the slick tyre there is very much a groove on that right front tyre that's come off. Not anything that would move water, I have to say, but they're putting not a centre lug nut, so they'll be doing the individual studs. We've got IMSA officials looking there to make sure that everything is safe. And they're just checking now. Really sensible, really sensible by Hickson Motorsport, with the crew chief down there telling Thomas when they got the wheel back on, right, Thomas, full left lock, please, full right lock, please. Just to make sure it wasn't fouling the bodywork. Now, the car's still up in the air. He'll probably ask him to do that again when it's down on the ground.
And to make sure also that the wheel still turns when the steering wheel asks it to.
Well, that's a fair point too.
This is exactly what you'd expect from Hickson Motorsport. They're a championship winning team, and that's the organization that both Brian Hickson and Shea Holbrook have put together.
And they've got plenty of time, because the safety car is only now in turn 8.
Lights are still on, by the way. after that initial lap, Max Sapolsky leads from Robert Noaker. Rookie Nate Cicero is in third, and I said that, keep that in mind. Jared Thomas fourth, John Jadwan fifth, Gresham Wagner sixth, Aaron Johnson seventh, Hernan Palermo eighth, and the next rookie in the field is Heather Hadley in ninth. We have half the field are rookies, and yet they're separated right now by 6 veteran drivers.
Yeah. Annunziata out of the pit lane with the new right front. He will now be coming around at reduced pace, not a full race pace, but will be trying to catch up. Exactly what Thomas is doing now is also being done slightly further ahead of him on the track by Alex Bachura.
Lights out on the safety car.
Oh, really? Right, so Thomas is going to have to get a bit of a wiggle on here. Now, he's past where the incident was, so he will be able to speed up.
That might give him a bit of an advantage, actually, John, because he's going to have more heat in his tires by the time we get back to green.
It's the old online racing trick, isn't it? You drop way back, or you put a new set of tyres on, and then you go absolutely as quickly as you can.
Okay, this is interesting. We've got 2 incidents that are under review by race control. The one at turn 2, which caused all that carnage, and then one at 5 between Thomas and Annunziata, car number 24.
Yes, that was what did the front end of Thomas's car, 24 being Aaron Johnson, of course. All right, let's go back to green, shall we? 33 minutes to go. Action-packed first 3 corners, 5 corners. Let's go back to green flag racing for our second race of the weekend here at Road America. Mazda MX-5 Cup 2023. Shea Adam and John Hindorf. And leading, Max Sapolsky goes through, being pushed across the start-finish line by Robert Noaker. Then Nate Cicero, Jared Thomas, they hold the line for the moment, and Gresham Wagner is the first to pull out with the orange bonnet. Goes round the outside. Oh, that's an audacious manoeuvre. Can he keep it in the white line-ish there? I think he might just get away with that on a restart, but he's hung himself out to dry on the wrong side of the track as he comes down. He's trying to filter back in to the line of cars in behind. That's Jared Thomas with the yellow roll hoop, and alongside him
Robert Noaker?
Is Robert Noaker.
No,
it's Nate Cicero.
John Jadwan. Car number 39.
39, yeah. Yes, of course it is, the white car.
We got there eventually. Aaron Johnson is behind him, though, so it's a very nerve-wracking spot for Gresham Wagner to be in.
Turn 5, side by side. Lots of drivers talking about this being, as the karting car goes wide again at turn 5. Lots of drivers talking about this being a one-groove track in the other championships. Not for Idemitsu Mazda MX-5. Sapolsky then has held the lead through turn 7. Great left-handed kink there. Use all of the curbs on the exit. Now get the car slowed down at the bottom of the hill for the left-hander at turn 8. Again, plenty of runoff there that Gresham Wagner was exploring to the absolute limits.
BF Goodrich, excellent off-road tires.
Always. Through the carousel. Flat out from about halfway around there. Get the car balanced. You're looking for a really good exit. Sapolsky has given himself maybe a car's length. Noaker and Nate Cicero battling for second and third. That Nate Cicero colour scheme gets me every time, because I think it's a black car. I keep forgetting it's only the front third of that car that is black. Round the outside, another very impressive move by Jared Thomas in the red car. This is the number 96. Slightly satin finish to that car. He gets by the 83. Red, white and blue and black. Great liveries on all of these cars. A little bit of nose damage on the front of Jared Thomas. I think that was from the first race earlier on.
I'm not sure that that's not from last season, John. This is the championship-winning car. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. That's kind of the JTR way. They've got a huge gap to try and overcome, though, as the leading 2 have broken well and truly clear of the rest.
3/4 of a second between the first 2.
3 laps led now for Max Sapolsky as he remains out front. In car number 2, Robert Noaker is in second, but now it's JTR Motorsport Engineering in second and third and fourth. They lead that second group, and they know how to work together, do Aaron Johnson and Jared Thomas.
Fastest lap of the race last time around by the black and white number 13, Robert Noaker, 2:35, 1:17. Now the 2 leaders do not start fighting, because you've got 3 teammates being able to drag behind you. There was a moment when Aaron Johnson pulled out there, but I just wonder if he was showing his teammate who it was behind him. Again, he pulls out as much maybe to block Gresham Wagner, who's behind us, to make any kind of concerted effort, and they've already closed that 3/4 of a second gap. Hernan Palermo with the blue hindquarters on the multicoloured number 20. He used to run a bright yellow car. He's changed his livery as well. Still very distinctive though. Now here comes Opalski. Down through turn 7 to turn 8. We've now got a leading group of 6 Mazda MX-5 Cup cars, and trying to bridge the gap in 7th position. That white car. We put Jean Jourdouin in that, didn't we? The 39 car. And he's nearly there. He's fought his way through that little group, actually.
He has. He's done a great job to catch up to that leading pack. Jean Jourdouin, not a driver that we normally associate with fighting for podium positions, but he's doing that today.
Down through one of the many fast parts of the circuit. It'd be pretty close to whether the braking point into Canada corner was the fastest or the braking point into turn 5.
Oh, heavy defense there from Robert Noaker going into Canada corner. Held back Jared Thomas just that tiny little bit. Now there's space between Jared Thomas and Aaron Johnson.
Cicero being passed on the outside, the right-hand side through Billy Mitchell. Turns 13 into 14 now. Seems to be a little more grip, slightly away from the apex, the centre of that corner, so not really needing to be right that close to the crowd. Pit stop. Now is this'll be a drive-through, is it?
Yep, we've got 2 penalties that have been issued. The first of which is Thomas Annunziata. I think that was the car we saw diving straight into the pit lane. Incident responsibility with the 24, Aaron Johnson, 10-second H.
Ooh.
I think that means 10-second stop and hold.
Yeah.
Another incident, that's James Hayosh. He is showing us in the pit lane, car number 81. No, that's who we saw diving into the pit lane. Incident responsibility, drive-through.
Well, James Hayosh has taken his.
Annunziata has stayed out so far.
No. Annunziata's taken his pit stop. He's dropped down to 22nd position.
He was there already. He came in to repair the damage to the wheel arch.
Of course he was. I was expecting it to be further up the field.
Yep. Well,
So
we're used to seeing him further up the field.
So in and a 10-second hold for that. Well, that's going to cost him even more track position. He's just coming up the start-finish line now. Presumably he's already dived into the pit lane, because if there's another full course yellow, he wants that to give him the opportunity. I don't think, even with a 10-second stop here, he's going to lose a lap. It's not going to be far away. He never really got back onto the end of the safety car line. Max Opalski doing a great job out front.
He really is.
Hasn't really had any kind of sustained or concerted attack from behind.
Max, who is in his 3rd year with this team, he comes from a karting background, is the man from Conifer, Colorado. Last year he was 20th in the championship. This year the goal is to get within the real cash money of finishing in the top 10. And last year his best race was actually at the next venue, Virginia International Raceway. It wasn't a great track weekend at Road America, so he's trying to put that right. And so far he's done a great job both in this race and earlier on.
Really good exit from the Carousel and the King from Hernan Palermo with the blue rear to that car. Let's see if he can pull out and make something of it down at Canada corner. The outside line being explored by Gresham Wagner there, and he comes back on. That could be an unsafe rejoin there. He's trying to go alongside Jared Thomas. They're still side by side going into turn 14. Aaron Johnson and blue car behind them. Pick a side, pick a drafting partner going up the hill here, because that's going to take you into turn 1. Here comes the 2 lanes of cars up the hill. Gresham Wagner just lost a little bit of momentum as he came out of turn 14. He's trying to elbow his way back into the line as the leaders cross the line. Then this gaggle of 6 cars led by the red number 96 in there. Jonathan Neudorf in there as well in the 55. He's come through the pack and he's looking for redemption after a disappointing race this morning. He had the speed though, because when he rejoined, he was still on the lead lap and he got his way up inside, I think the top 16 maybe.
He was making a good run for it when we had our final yellow flag come out, which ultimately ended the race. But yeah, Jonathan Neudorf with a very quick car clearly feels good at this track, getting his first pole position, and we're seeing a lot of raciness from him that we haven't necessarily seen earlier on in the year. Gresham Wagner, though, with that attempt around the outside at Canada Corner, he was trying to go from 5th to 3rd. It didn't work. Now he has fallen way back down through the field, and that leading duo have broken away once again.
Yeah, but if we just say nothing for about 10 seconds, it'll all be back together.
And it's all back together.
And it's all back together. Under the Corvette Bridge and through the left-hander at turn number 6 on this fantastic circuit. Big crowd here this weekend. Huge crowd for a Saturday. Trying to move around the paddock earlier on to go and see people and have a chat. And just a brilliant sight to see here at Road America for the IMSA Sports Car Weekend. Idemitsu Mazda MX-5 back on the IMSA package for the last 3 years or so. It's been brilliant to have them back in our paddocks. Great driving. This is the race where, I tell you now, there's nothing going on in the paddock. People who were scrambling to fix cars for later on have stopped. They have found themselves a screen and they are watching this.
There's still about an hour to go before the WeatherTech drivers meeting. Everybody is tuned into it right now. All of the poor pilot drivers, they're in their drivers meeting right now. Wonder who's got this on their phone. Come on, guys, hold up a hand. We won't sell you out to Bo Barfield.
Yeah, Bo's not fighting against this. He's got more sense than this. He'll have rattled it off beforehand, or he'll wait till there's the next yellow.
Pause the PowerPoint and put on the racing.
Yeah, put on the racing, and if there's another yellow, he'll continue. And hello to all the IndyCar drivers at the Nashville Grand Prix this weekend. Not had the best of weather up there, but I know this is a favourite of many of you. Already had James Hinchcliffe as a guest driver. Part of Kligerman has been here as well. Actually here, that was last year. Crossed the line.
Here comes JTR.
On the driver's left-hand side, that's the long way around turn 1. But Jared, in that 96 red car, has showed that he's quite happy with the outside line. He'll get eased to the outside of the track by the number 13 of Robert Noecker. I think that's okay. Racing room was just about given there. 1, 2, 3 rows of 2 wide down towards turn 3.
Gresham Wagner on the bumper of Aaron Johnson now, who's trying to help his teammate Jared Thomas push toward the front. Hernan Palermo's hanging on with this pack. This is awesome racing.
Yeah, Nate Cicero right in there as well. So there's one of the rookies in there, Jonathan Neudorf as well. In the 55 car.
Oh, 3 wide going into turn 5.
I almost wanted to look away there, but I can't because it's my job to watch this. That's how impressive this is. Max Opalski, I cannot speak highly enough of what Max is doing out front in the Copeland Motorsports Mazda, because he's got now a gap that's enough to allow him to take the optimum racing line, hit his marks, get through the corners as quick as possible, and he's basically saying to those behind him, led by Robert Noecker in that mostly white car, saying, guys, you keep fighting. I'm quite happy. He's probably got 3/4 of a second now when he had 3/4 of a tenth of a second as they went across the line. Now, in the second half of the lap, they're still fighting, and dust being thrown up by Robert Noecker. That will cost him 2 places. Through goes the red car of Jared Thomas. Through goes the black, orange, white and green of Gresham Wagner.
Max Opalski's best finish, just to put this in context, is 5th at Daytona earlier on in the year, and all of a sudden he is leading this race soundly. He's putting on a performance like what we're used to seeing from Jared Thomas and Gresham Wagner.
Hernan Palermo going wide at Canada Corner, but comes back on. So now JTR, or JT of JTR, and Gresham Wagner. Now, as soon as they cleared the 13 of Robert Noecker, they started working together, and immediately they've caught Max Opalski. So that 3/4 of a second has disappeared. The top three will go across the line as one. Here they come to us now. We're on the left-hand side of the drivers.
New leader, first time all race. Jared Thomas crosses the line, and it means that it's going to be harder for Max to claim those bonus points. He has led 5 laps so far, 20 minutes to go. We can get 5 laps out of Jared Thomas. He's going to take 10 bonus points.
So now Max Opalski has shown that he can lead confidently. What can he do now that he's been dropped back down into 3rd position? Under braking, all the cars moving around on the BF Goodrich rubber down at the bottom of the hill at turn 3. More dirt being thrown up once again by Robert Noaker. That cost him places before when he came out of the carousel. It's going to cost him places here. He can't be pushing that hard on the exits. Just taking away 0.5 mile an hour. Maybe 1 mile an hour on his exits. He's dropped in behind Jared Thomas. That's a great run by Opalski. He's back into 2nd now as Thomas felt the need to defend from Noaker there. He was defending fresh air for a moment though, because Noaker wasn't in a position to pass him. It doesn't seem to have hurt Jared in that red car in 3rd. Easy to spot Jared. Red car, sort of that satin red finish, but the bright yellow door mirrors and interior of the car, including that rollover hoop. There's a story behind that as well, isn't there, that rollover hoop?
I believe there is. I don't remember what it is, so Dave Thomas, please let us know. But I'm sorry, I'm just taken aback because, John, you were completely spot on. Unsafe re-entry at Canada Corner for Gresham Wagner. Race control saw it. They deemed it as a warning. So they have now said to him, do that again at any corner on the track. Come back on the track, it'll be a drive-through.
I think he gets a bit of leniency there because of the battle and the side-by-side. But
that's it.
But also, it was borderline as to whether he just made the mistake. And he kept his foot in. And I think that's why they've looked at that. And I can totally understand that one. Been both sides of that argument on racetracks in my time, my limited amount of time behind the wheel.
And Gresham's a series champion. He finished 3rd in the points last year. He's not inexperienced, and he's not dumb.
Max Opalski has got a car that is clearly okay on its own. It's mega in the draft. He was pushing Gresham Wagner there all the way from the exit of Canada Corner to the turning point of turn 14, the final right-handed corner on the circuit. Right, Gresham on the racing line. He's daring Max Opalski to come out of the draft and down the inside into turn 1. Max says, you know what, I'm not taking that right now. Meantime, side by side, Aaron Johnson
and
Jean Jodouin for company, and they're still side by side. The white car is John. Aaron is in the dark blue machine, who's had to give best now to 1, possibly 2 cars, as also in there
Nate Cicero.
Is Nate Cicero.
Wait, so the best of our rookies is down in 7th position.
With the 2nd best in 8th as they went across the line, yes.
What a change from earlier on in the race. But Gresham Wagner, much like earlier on in the race, has now led a lap.
This could be massive, absolutely massive in the championship standings. Gresham Wagner will not give this championship up until he absolutely has to. And we've seen it down through the years. Start looking at the dates for the rest of the Idemitsu Mazda MX-5 Cup season, and particularly to the final race weekend. It's at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta as part of the Petit Le Mans weekend. And we have been calling the last laps of the 2nd and last race of the weekend and last race of the season, where 1 position either way could make a difference to championships. And this is a championship share that is very, very cost effective to buy a car and to run a car. Not only the big cash at the end of it, but you're not being asked to put in huge amounts of money to go racing.
No, you're not. And when you consider the cost of the car and the cost of a season, you can cover your entire season, including the car, by winning the championship. That's why so many people come back 250 grand at the end of the year, 6 grand for each race win that you get. You get real cash money every single race if you finish in the top 10. I can't stress that enough because it's not just a credit to come back in the series.
Oh, no.
It's cash. So if you
Take
want
the
to
money and run if you want to.
If you want to go charter a private jet somewhere, it's all on you. But the reason that so many people like Gresham Wagner, like Jared Thomas, they stay in this championship, like Robert Noacker coming back into this championship, is because it is the most cost-effective racing in the world right now. Gresham Wagner leads another lap. He's going to be happy that I put that little tick down on the chart. We have completed 9 laps of the race. Max Zapolsky led 5 of them, and Jared Thomas led 1. The other 2 have been by Gresham Wagner, who now gets passed once again by Zapolsky up the inside for the lead of the race. Wagner runs way wide through turn 1. He's followed by Thomas, who doesn't go nearly as wide, but Wagner is definitely on the radar of race control, particularly after that one, John, because that was well off the track once again. He's still side by side with Zapolsky after they've gone through turn 3, and now the long run up to turn 5, where the train of cars has chosen to back Gresham Wagner. That'll leave Zapolsky out to dry.
It's not so long that we have seen drivers running their own cars. Michael Carter, I think, was probably the last driver at the front of the field who went out and did that. It became Carter Racing Enterprises, of course, but he and his dad toured the country with the Mazda in a race trailer.
And won the championship.
Won the championship. It'd be harder to do that now, but there's any number of teams. I know that there will be people watching and listening, and particularly on the Discord servers who follow this sort of racing, who'll be looking at this and saying, oh, I wouldn't mind a go of this. More than 250 race-specific parts are added to effectively a bare shell. It's stripped back to its component parts when it comes in from Japan to the preparation facilities at Fliss at Daytona, and the engine's put to one side. That's sealed, so you can't mess around with it. Then the car is rebuilt with all the performance and safety parts on, fire suppression, rollover hoop, FIA cage, etc., etc. Different suspension, sequential gearbox, the Sadev's gearbox, different wheels and racing tyres and seat, and steering wheel is even specific. But the cost of racing is very cost effective, and there's no other series at this level who put more money back into the championship. And look, if you've decided you're going to go racing, you accept you're going to go and spend money. Even if you get 6 grand back for a win, that's money that you probably wouldn't have got back into the championship. Another pit caller from the end of that front group is Aaron Johnson. That is coming in for the drive-through.
He did not have a drive-through. He was a car affected by a car that got a drive-through. Why is our championship leader into the pit lane? This is serious drama for the JTR Motorsport Engineering driver. He had a 240-point gap after today's race. Celine Roland, who was chasing him in the championship, did crash and will finish in the 23rd position. But Aaron Johnson into the pits. They're looking at the right rear of the car. The taillights have gone off for Aaron. Now, does that mean that the car has turned off? There's work going on. It's not frantic, but there is work. They're popping up the hood. Take a look at the engine, maybe. I wonder if it was overheating. Back at the front of the field, it is Gresham Wagner still leading the way from Jared Thomas.
This is massive news for Gresham Wagner, isn't it? Oof. Could really close down the gap. Really, and now Celine Roland will be kicking himself that he hasn't been able to get any more points from this race and start to close the gap even further. So Wagner, number 5, with the bright orange bonnet and boot, hood and trunk of that car. JTR, Jared Thomas, in second. Those two, for the moment, just eking a tiny little gap out from Robert Noacker. It's over. It's over for series leader, championship leader, Aaron Johnson. That was a very unhappy driver. Didn't have to see his face, didn't have to hear his voice. The slope of the shoulders, slightly bent forward. Something wrong with that car. Very unusual for these cars to have any kinds of mechanical problems that aren't brought on by contact.
Car 24 retired on the timing screen.
Already?
It is now official.
Wow.
That's very fast.
That is very fast. It must have been something pretty fundamental then.
Well, the peril of one JTR driver could be the benefit of another. Jared Thomas sitting second right now on the racetrack. Should he win this race, it's 350 points that would go his way. He can also get the fastest lap of the race, can't lead the most laps. I think that will stay with Max Zapolsky for this one, unless Gresham Wagner, he's out front once again.
This is a huge moment in the 2023 Idemitsu MX-5 Cup, presented by BF Goodrich. A real look of resignation on the face of Aaron Johnson. Oh, leader goes wide. Gresham Wagner goes wide at turn 1. And through goes Jared Thomas, huge in the championship battle. Leader is out, second place in the championship, takes the lead. Noeka goes through into second, Opalski trying to go through in third. One tiny mistake from Gresham Wagner at turn 1. Just took maybe a mile an hour, a couple of miles an hour too quick through turn 1, and he loses 3 positions.
Gresham Wagner has already moved himself up from 7th in points today. He has gained 2 positions. He can do more than that for today's race, but he needs to not do anything to jeopardize the possibility of continuing to move up through the field.
Wagner then turned in, maybe just turned in a little bit too late actually, with the JTR car of Jared Thomas on the inside. It might have been as much about the line as much as the speed, but he got off the racing circuit, couldn't get the grip from the tyres and the forward motion, and that dropped him. Actually, he did well to hold on to third. I thought he was going to lose that to Max Opalski. He's dropped 2 places down to third. Then a gap back to the next group of cars, which is led by Jean Jadouin. Then Nate Cicero. Cicero and Neudorf battling for best rookie in this race.
Well, all Cicero needs to do is stay ahead of Annunziata, and he will leave with the rookie lead in the championship.
Well, Annunziata is still running, but of course right at the back after his problems. He's just crossing the line now. In fact, there he goes.
But that moves him ahead of Aaron Johnson. So every lap that Thomas Annunziata stays out there, he continues to pull back championship points.
Well, if he can't make up many positions now, though, Shea.
He can if other people fall off.
Well, yes, yeah. He's not going to do it purely on pace.
Car 5, track limits warning, turn 1. They are watching Gresham Wagner.
That's hard. That's a warning for unsafe rejoin and a warning for track limits. I think he was trying to give the JTR car a little bit of room there. See what happens in turn 1 this time.
We've got 7 minutes and 40 seconds to go. Max Opalski has led 5 laps, Gresham Wagner has led 4, and Jared Thomas has led 2. So unless Gresham gets to the front and leads 2 more, Max Opalski will steal 10 very valuable championship points away.
I'm just watching Robert Noeka at the back of this group.
That's always a good thing to do here.
I have a suspicion that he's just biding his time here. He keeps popping out, making sure he's got cooler air coming onto the front of his Mazda MX-5. He's still in touch, and he's very quick through the centre of all of the corners because he's able to pick his line at the back of that 4-car group. And I just wonder if he's watching and taking in, making mental notes of where the cars ahead of him are quicker, or where he's quicker than them. What he needs to be is really good through turn 13 and 14. He is absolutely in with a chance of the podium positions, maybe even better. But he can't afford to drop too far off the back of them and lose the big draft. Let's see what he can do out of the carousel as the leading pair are absolutely together. He gets a really good run. Again out the carousel, it looks like he's losing ground. Let's see what it's like when he gets down to Canada corner, through the kink, on his own, can pick his line.
Just remember, no one is better at winning in the Idemitsu Mazda MX-5 Cup than Robert Noaker at Road America. He's done it 3 times before, and second best has won twice, a couple of times, but not that number 3.
Just under 6 minutes to go. Second race of the weekend, it's on the line. The championship, whilst not thrown into disarray, we have certainly had a little sideways moment for our championship leader, who sits in the pits, and at the moment Aaron Johnson will get points for no better than 21st position.
That's 100 points, meaning Aaron Johnson will leave this weekend with 2,770. Celine Roland, who was second in points, will leave with 2,510.
We've lost Anthony McIntosh.
I noticed that.
Lost on the circuits. The number 69 car.
He is a local driver, so perhaps he found some good food and just pulled off.
He's somewhere in Sector 2.
Yeah, that doesn't narrow it down.
It's the biggest sector, I know.
The carousel at the beach. He saw the taco truck, decided to go over there.
Seems reasonable.
Into the pit lane for Woody Hyman, car number 82 for JTR Motorsport Engineering. He's dropping down the charts now too. Perhaps there was some contact between the two drivers.
You are looking at
doing
putting 2 and 2 together. Yes, absolutely.
Happy wedding day, Joe.
Yeah, they'll be right in the middle of their nuptial celebrations back up in Sunderland in the northeast of England. Our colleague Joe Bradley and the very lovely Samantha. Congrats to them. Sorry we couldn't be with you on your special day. Through turn 7, 4 minutes to go.
Jared took more bonus points for leading the lap. So it means Max Opalski, with 5 laps led, should get this, unless Gresham takes the lead now, holds it across the line this lap, and then wins the race.
Gresham Wagner won the race earlier today by timing his run to the lead perfectly. He wasn't to know that the race was going to be effectively neutralised to the checkered flag on that lap. But the last 2 green flag laps, he led. He dropped down to 4th position, battling for 4th and 5th, and then he fought his way back to the lead at the start of the last green flag lap. And that's how he took maximum points. It's been a good weekend. Whatever happens now for Gresham Wagner in Spark Performance, he'll be very happy with that. 3 minutes to go.
Jared Thomas, very comfortable out front. He hasn't been there as often this year, though, John, as he did last year when he went on to win the championship. Gresham Wagner looking very much to try and get back to championship winning form. 2 wheels in the grass coming up the front straight. Manages to hold on to it, but he opened the door for Max Opalski.
1 more lap after the next lap. This is not white flag lap. They will get that next time around. So this is 2 to go. The satin red number 96 of Jared Thomas still holds on the lead. Somehow Gresham is still in 2nd place. Opalski in 3rd. And remember what I said about Robert Noaker. He's just been lurking off the back there in that white 4th place. Robert Noaker Racing Mazda. Then it's about 5, call it 6 seconds to Jonathan Nerdorf, who is now the best rookie ahead of Jean Jourdouin, and Nate Cicero down to 7th. Only 2nd in the rookie championship, 3rd in the rookie standings at this race, and 11th overall John Hansen ahead of Bailey Cruz and Heather Hadley in the 54 car, down to 13th position at the moment.
You said this lap and 1 more, correct?
Yeah, yes.
That means that Gresham Wagner leading 4 laps, Jared Thomas leading 4 laps, Max Opalski leading 5 laps. The 10 points are still up for grabs.
Oh, wow. What happens if you have 2 drivers who lead the same number?
I think it's whoever led the first lap.
Okay.
In that case.
Okay, so that would be Max.
Yep.
So he has the tie break.
Oh, goodness. Robert Noaker is right there. He needs to stop dropping wheels at the exit of turn 3, though. That's really slowing him down on the run into 5, and that's creating this gap. He fights really hard to catch back up to the leading trio, and that little part of the track, that is his only weak spot.
If he can stay no further back than he is now, he normally gets a good exit from the carousel. He may just be a little bit out of the draft in that 13 black and white car as they head underneath the walkover bridge through to the kink for the penultimate time. That's just over 5, maybe 6 miles to go, and still the 3-car train at the front. So maybe Noeka has been broken now. Canada corner. Through goes those 12 wheels. BF Goodrich tyres on those special Rays Racing alloys. Now coming to the last corner. This will be the last chance next time around. Let's see who's planning, who's scheming. Great exit from the number 13 in 4th position. Used all of the runoff and a tiny bit of the Wisconsin grass here. But the top 3 now head on to the last 4.048 miles. And Opalski pushing the leader. Wagner in 3rd. Wagner pulls out to the right-hand side. Opalski tries to go the long way around. He'll try the cut back here, squaring off the corner. Can he get the run down to turn 3? That's what he'll be looking for. Still that number 13 car in 4th position. He's not out of it. 3 steps on the box. 4 drivers battling for it.
Keep an eye on Wagner. What did he learn earlier in the race that allowed him to go from 5th to 1st, well, from 1st to 5th to 1st on that last lap? He knows how to maneuver in these cars. So just because he's sitting in 3rd doesn't mean he's content to stay there.
Still well under 2 seconds, the cumulative gaps between 1st and 2nd for the whole of the season so far. We normally count it in fractions of a tenth, and we've got another blanket finish coming here. Robert Noeka just trying to hang on now. He's got to get a good run in that white car through turn 6. See if he can get among the leaders. He's doing pretty well. He's inching back towards them. This might be perfectly timed by that 4th place car, especially if there's any kind of tangle between the top 3. Little bit of movement going on down the inside for Opalski in the black and green car. Here comes Wagner around the outside. He's gone way wide. He's already had a warning for track limits. He's going to have to be so careful. That's great news for Jared Thomas. Those 2 scrapping behind them has allowed him to get what in IMSA Mazda MX-5 terms is a gap. It might only be a 1.5 length gap, but it's a gap. But here comes Opalski again. He led confidently earlier on in the race from his pole position. Wagner lurking there. There's a touch on the back as they came out of the kink. That could have been disastrous for Opalski and Wagner. Down to Canada corner for the last time. The leader goes defensively to the middle of the road. Opalski, does he stick or does he twist? He's stuck. He's staying in behind for the moment. It'll be the turn 14 and then the run up the hill.
Opalski just got a penalty for blocking. It's a warning, but they have acknowledged it. No more of that, Max. We need to make it to the checkered.
Jared Thomas then leading. This is huge for the championship. 2nd in the championship. That satin red car with the yellow roll hoop. And here comes Noeka. He's got a run as well. This is for all 3 positions on the box. 2 wide behind the leader. It's another blanket finish in the Inamitsu Mazda MX-5 Championship. And it goes to Jared Thomas for JTR Racing, and what a run. Controlled it from the front of the race, and he takes max points. That is going to push him right up the championship. Opalski holds on to 2nd. Fabulous run for Max. That is his best finish. And 3rd, well, hang on, Gresham. I've got Gresham Wagner in 2nd. That's just changed over. That's how close it was. So Wagner in 2nd, Opalski in 3rd, Noeka in 4th, 0.2 of a second between the top 4. Wow, John Chaudouin comes through as best of the 2nd group. Nate Cicero fought his way back to be 6th and best of the rookies, extending his lead in that championship over Jonathan Neudorf in 7th, the 2nd of the rookies. Top 10 completed by Palermo, Atwater and Batura. The race to the checkered flag could not have been closer. I was sure Opalski had got that, but there was a half of a draft from, wow, actually, Palski only just hung on to third from Noeka. Yeah, 0.018 of a second. My goodness. Idemitsu Mazda MX-5 delivers.
Every time. Now, John, I'm not very good at math, but I've just done some quick adding up. 27.70 for Aaron John Som after today's race. 27.10 after taking the fast lap and leading the most laps for Jared Thomas, as well as winning the race. 25.10 for Celine Roland after the contact early on. 23.30 for Gresham Wagner. 2,200 for Robert Noaker, 2,000 for Nate Cicero. He is now the best of our rookies.
And extends his lead in the Rookie Championship with the best finish of the first season drivers. What a great weekend here at America's National Park of Speed that sees Jared Thomas with a delightful double for the JTR Motorsports engineering driver and team principal. His championship charge is back on course. Gresham Wagner with 2 decent finishes as well this weekend. And Nate Cicero extends his lead in the Rookie Championship. It's all to play for the rest of the season. Join us for Idemitsu Mazda MX-5 Cup action throughout the rest of the year. For Shay, Adam, I'm John Hindorf. Bye-bye.